We're up to our entire interview with Dean Roland, talking about the brand new album, Here to Eternity, a double album on Rock History Book. Collective Soul, one of the great American bands. They're from Stockbridge, Georgia. Formed in the early 90s, actually 1992, with lead vocalist and guitarist Ed Roland, who's their main songwriter, along with his brother Dean Roland on rhythm guitar. They were one of the top post-grunge bands that were right in the vein of alternative rock. The original lineup also included bassist Will Turpin, drummer Shane Evans, and lead guitarist Ross Childress. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention the Roland brothers, who were brought up in a very strict Christian family. And for many years, the boys didn't really have access to rock and roll. The band's breakthrough came with their debut album, Hints, Allegations, and Things Left Unsaid. It was released in 1993. Initially, it was intended to be a demo, but then the album's success was propelled by the hit single Shine, a raw and passionate tune that builds. It received a lot of airplay on college radio stations and MTV. It's also, as of this taping, their biggest song on Spotify with 200 plus million listens. Shine became a defining anthem of the 1990s. It reached number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 and really secured the band's position in rock music. Following this unexpected success, Collective Soul released their self-titled second album in 1995, which solidified their reputation. The album featured multiple hit singles, including the gritty Toe Tappin' December and the slower The World I Know. Singer and songwriter Ed Roland says it was the ultimate song about compassion and finding perspective. Even the video shows a character losing all hope until he gets a sign. Also on the album, the rebellious and explosive tune Gel. All the singles got lots of airplay. Their third album, Discipline Breakdown, in 1997, continued their commercial success. It produced hits like that electric storm of Precious Declaration and Listen, a tune about standing up in spite of what hits you. And they all performed well on rock radio charts. By 1999, Collective Soul released Dosage. It's an album that featured a new period of creative maturity for the band, an evolution. It featured the hit single, Heavy, and combined that visceral, that intense rock vein that was a trademark for the band. And it spent a record-breaking 15 weeks at the top of the mainstream rock charts. The early 2000s saw Collective Soul continuing to evolve with their sound with the album Blender. It included the pop-infused single, Why Part 2, and a notable collaboration with Elton John, one of their heroes, on the track Perfect Day. The trio of Ed Roland, Dean Roland, and Will Turpin really remained dedicated to the band's vision. They released Youth in 2004 and Afterwards in 2007. Both did well. In 2009 came the Rabbit album. It was self-titled, but fans called it Rabbit. It included the hit Staring Down. Collective Soul's enduring appeal lies in their ability to adapt and reinvent themselves. While they stayed true to their rock roots, they continued to release new music, like See What You Started by Continuing in 2015 and Blood in 2019. They sold well over 20 million albums worldwide, and their May 2024 album was a double feature, a double record, Here to Eternity, and called a thrilling no-skip effort from start to finish. You're able to, it's almost like asking Michael Jackson to dance differently to every song. There is a personality on this one, then I'm going, oh, there's that personality on the next song that got me into the band.
Right.
And it's like you're changing your dancing shoes all the time. How conscious is that?
I like to think it's pretty unconscious. Like it's like a natural authentic approach to it. We'll go in the studio and like, we'll take a different approach from time to time, right? So these last couple of records we've made, especially this most recent one, figure out where the song's going to go. We've rehearsed them to a degree. A lot of times we like at sound check or when we're playing shows, or even during the show, we'll play some songs. So we'll have some preparation, but it's really like just seeing what happens in the moment with it and see where it lands. And that goes back to, I think we're just fans of music in general, like multiple genres, and so I don't know. Hopefully it comes across as being authentic.
the music industry is not like that. There's no guarantees. But you guys, I mean, 30 years. You must look back. I mean, because Mick Jagger said, I thought the Stones would last, remember, a few years. And here you are, 30
Right.
years later.
I know that's a so we're coming up on we're actually in the 30-year anniversary of our band, and like we've never been big on too much reflection on our career. It's kind of like, let's just go keep making music and be completely grateful for the success and just being able to make music for a living. Like that's rare, I think. So we've never really strayed from that, but like the 30-year anniversary, kind of like sit back and we filmed a documentary while making the record, and it's a career spanning, but it's also kind of located in where we made the record at Elvis Presley's house in Palm Springs, right? So it was a good time to do some reflection. So it was a very emotional. Making this record was emotional on multiple levels. Like you're already going in. You're recording new music. That's going to be its own thing. You're doing this documentary, and it's like you're at Elvis's house. Nobody's recorded there since Elvis has passed, and and then you're doing all this reflection on your career. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. We can, you know, it's a fun little nostalgic thing. I don't want to live in it too long, but it's a fun thing to say. Oh, wow, okay, we've accomplished some things.
This is a culmination of a lot of great things and some bad, but here you are in Elvis's estate.
Yeah, it really is, and to put all of those things in perspective for us was like it's very humbling, really, like just uh, to remember, to feel it, and then being fortunate enough to continue to do it. So, you know, I don't know, man. It's a strange life.
So no ghost sightings in the estate. I'm just clarifying that right now, just in
Well,
case.
there was no ghost sightings. I mean, the only the night, unfortunately, the night that Lisa Marie passed, we were recording there, and our control the soundboard and all the control room was set up in her childhood room, and there was a oddly enough, I mean, we're in Palm Springs, right? You don't get much rain there. I mean, seasonal, I guess, but the ceiling collapsed and flooded that room. It literally, I mean, I'm not trying to be conspiratorial or any of that, but it was a strange coincidence.
But it happened. Yeah, yeah.
It
I
did
hear you.
happen. There's no doubt about that. I'm just like, bless her soul. Like that was just
Yeah.
a very unfortunate thing.
You've traveled a lot. You've done a lot of things. Obviously people sometimes forget you're a fan too, even though here you are on stage in front of, millions of people through the years. But
Right.
have you ever had one of those moments where you go, I can't believe I'm in the room with that person, or maybe the first moment that happened?
Oh gosh, so many times. I mean, the probably the first time that I had one of those moments, had the good fortune of becoming friends with Elton John over the years. The first time I met Elton was that thing where just like all of the history, all of those things, all those songs, everything all the pictures you had seen. I'm like, oh, that's you. You're real, and it's like that. It's a little bit of a mind trip, but yeah, for sure, dude. Like, and even on stage, like I'll trip out sometimes. I'm like, because we don't use like it's five men up on stage playing their instruments, right? So I'll have moments where I'm like, if any one of us stop doing something, this is going to be a calamity, right? So I have those like existential moments.
Well, speaking of Elton, I had a chance to, through the years, talk to Davy Johnston, his
Oh
longtime
yeah.
guitarist, Caleb Quay, who played with him in the early days, and then Rock of the
Okay.
Whiskies and Blue Moves, and Kenny Passarelli, who came on those two albums, the latter albums. Oh, Elton seemed a little burnt out. And I didn't care. The music was still good to me, but by the time you get to Rock of the Westies and Blue Moves, I mean, Blue Moves is a double album, and people were saying that and he came up with all this. And I know some people don't like Blue Moves, but there's so much going on Blue Moves. There's so many genres.
I mean, I guess you could. I mean, I've never ran a marathon, but it's like I would only assume that it's like you hit a pace, and then you get like an endorphin rush at some point, and you're like, oh, yeah, this is what. And it's not. You're not doing it mechanically. You're just like, oh, you're passionately fueled by this thing, and then you hit those creative moments, and you just go with it. And not that we haven't. I feel like every record we've made has been our best offering at that moment in time, right? You're always just, you want to put your best out. Doesn't mean it's your best in your career necessarily. This one, like my brother Ed had been talking about a while. It's been one of his things. He has wanted to do a double album for a while now, and it's just really did happen kind of naturally. And it was like, all right, he had a bunch of songs, and we got in the house and recorded them. And then from my memory, we did most of them pretty quickly. And then it's like, okay, you're in that flow. Let's just keep going. And we went with it.
Okay, you and Ed, you're 12. Let's say you're 12 years old, and I'm peeking at you and Ed being brothers. What am I seeing? How well did you guys get along? What was the dynamic with you two back then?
So if I were 12, Ed would have been 21 or 22. So I didn't know him really. He was just like some dude that would like come in our house and leave. I'm like, who is this dude? So we didn't really become. I mean, we were always brothers, and we knew that aspect. But the age gap closed probably as I was like getting out of high school, and we realized we liked the same kind of music. And he formed my taste in music. He and my brother John. So I just kind of followed their lead. And then, but at age 12, I don't know, man. He was probably just some dude coming in my house eating food. I'm like, who? I don't really know who you are. This is a little. So he was just in and out, basically.
Who taught you guys, even as a guitarist, who taught you and Ed there's a certain thing. And by the way, I've always heard a little Peter Gabriel in Ed's lower
register. Always. Yeah.
Once I was in Target or something.
A couple times. Yeah. It's something there. It's like the airy, raspy something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear it as well. And we grew up with like, especially me, like early 80s kids, right? So it was Peter Gabriel and Genesis, and we would dabble in like progressive, like with Yes and that type of thing. But it was the Police and U2, NXS, and then kind of went backwards from there. Like really loving, for me, like Zeppelin and AC/DC and the riff rock stuff.
How far back were you aware of Bob Dylan?
Ooh, so his name was always around, right? So my maturation process was probably not able to handle, and it was like generational type thing, right? So so I probably started to listen to Dylan. I mean, for better, for worse, whatever, and I love it. It was Traveling Wilburys, like, because I love Tom and I love George Harrison. George was for a long while was my favorite Beatle, and I love Jeff Lynne. And then Bob was kind of lumped into that thing. I'm like, who is? I love all these guys with Roy, and I'm like, who is this other dude? I know his name, and then it was like, kind of at that point going down a rabbit hole. Yeah. But maybe it could very well be a generational thing.
Words Away has sort of a nice My Sweet Lord guitar tone to it in the beginning.
Oh yeah, yeah. We did. There's a song on a new record. Uh, it's called "Not the Same." It's one of my favorite ones, and it's got a little bit of that the George solo, "My Sweet Lord."
Yeah.
It's the same, as the major to minor.
Got to kick it, and I thought, there's that chutzpah. There's that in your face. Love the phrasing. That's one of those songs that has the feel of Collective Soul. That is why I ended up loving Collective Soul for songs
Oh,
like
that's
Kick It.
cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah, man, that was a film. It's like when you start talking about a double record, it's like, oh boy, I gotta remember those. I love Kick It. I love personally, like, just if I can speak objectively about it, I love the song "Bluer Than Blue." I don't, and I told Ed, like, for some reason that song is like, it's a quintessential Collective Soul like riff, but then he goes into like a halftime melodic chorus. Like, that's what I feel. I mean, we have different variations of what we do, but like, that's, to me, that's like a quintessential like pop rock song.
Favorite moment with Johnny, speaking of drummers. Was there a moment that stands out that you could share with us with your drummer?
With Johnny Rab,
Yeah.
oh God, there's probably too many to speak to. I mean, for starters, he's probably one of the kindest humans on the planet. So I'm going to praise him for that. He's just he's a hell of a human being. And then it's like, you, you the talent. I mean, he's world class, elite, doing his thing, right? So, and it's back to one of those things, like, well, on stage, I'm like, I'm playing, I'm doing my thing or whatever, and Jesse's doing his, Will and Ed are doing theirs, and I'm like, well, goddamn, like, Johnny Rabb is back there playing drums for us. How did we get to this place? It's so cool to me. But it's all like, the when the show's over, the shenanigans kick in and we have fun. It's all in good fun. And John's he's one of he's just one of the best dudes on the planet.
What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you on stage?
I mean, we've had plenty of things thrown at us on stage, and never a used tampon. That's for sure. Good God. I don't know. I mean, I remember one caught up in it, and you get passion, and Ed got hit in the head with a water bottle. And I don't know why I remember this, and I don't know why I did it, but I was like, decided it was time to break my guitar. So I had this Les Paul, and it's a testament to how well these guitars are made. And I kept smashing it on stage, and it wouldn't break. It literally got stuck into the stage itself, and then it's like, now I look like a fucking idiot up here. I'm like, you can't even break your own guitar. So that's some silly stuff. There's just certain songs that we've done over the years that I've loved, I fell in love with for different reasons. Um, I think it's a great song, and it connected, and whatever connects with people. That's why we do what we do, because music connected with us first, and we wanted to replicate that in some form. It's weird. I don't know. I wish I had the answer to that, because we'd probably do more of them, but you you just let it be what it is, right?
The world I know. Who came up with the guitar intro? Who?
So that one was written by Ed and our original guitar player Ross. Those cats came up with that jam.
So why did he leave?
Uh, like, it was how long we been a band? 30 years. A lot happens. All right.
Rick Emmett of Triumph once told me, because he had been out of Triumph at that point. I said, "Listen, man, you're going to get the band back together." And of course, they did the documentary after that. But he said, "Do you want to? Do you want? Have you been married once or twice?" What? He said, "Well, it's kind of like sometimes if it doesn't work out well, it's like going on a road trip with your ex-wives." So
Yeah, it's tricky being in a band. It's even trickier being in a band with your brother, because you can't really. I can't break up from him. That's the way it is. So certain things just hold steady, and some things just don't last, and that's kind of how it works.
Heavy.
Okay.
What can you tell me about that?
Oh, Heavy. I love that song. Will and Shane, our original drummer, we were doing rehearsals before we were going to go record the Dosage album, and Ed just heard and it's funny how songs come about. Sometimes they're formed in your bedroom with an acoustic, or sometimes it's in rehearsal and you're spontaneous. And Ed heard what those dudes were doing and just put that riff on top of it, and the lyrics, melody, it really happened. It's one of those that happened very fast, and then it was like, okay, 3-minute pop song. We got a pop rock song, I guess. That was it. It's funny. It's hard to really dissect some of that stuff because it happens in a moment, and it happens from a perspective of almost like you're not ready for it. It's just, there it is. Okay, get it, like lightning in a bottle kind of thing.
You're in the doctor's office. Some guy looks at you and say, "What do you do? Do you go there? What do you do?"
I go there now.
Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you. If you say you're a musician, you know the next question. Or would it be something I would know? So what do you say?
So I do one of two things. One being completely forthright and just say I'm a musician, because I probably dress a little different or look a little whatever it may be. I'm a musician. I'm in a band called Collective Soul, and knowing full well that they may or may not know the band, they may or may not like the band, even if they know it. And I'll just remove myself from any expectation. So that's the first one, right? So I'm just like completely forthright. And then the second one is say I'm a magician.
What?
Yeah, I'm just a magician. I make magic when I get on stage, and that's it. I'll leave it at that.
Hope you enjoyed that. Remember, all our full videos are always on this channel, Rock History Book. The partial videos, the little short snippets, are on Rock History Music. This is long form, that's short form. We're trying to buy more mics right now. These are great, but they're not necessarily the best. We're trying to raise some funds to buy some mics. If you want to help us out, there's a PayPal link in the description. You can also get early access to all our videos on Patreon. So subscribe to our channel. You can share our videos on social media where it's applicable, where it fits. We love when you do that. Buy a t-shirt, help support the channel. All the links are in the description, but subscribe, like the videos, share them on social media, and comment on them as well. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Book. Take care.